Well, hey, friends. How's it going? Welcome back to the Position to Prosper podcast. I'm your host, Erica Pyle. And today, friends, we're going to be talking about when you get stuck in start mode and what do you do about it? Well, hey, friends. I don't know what is happening. Welcome back to oh my goodness, I've got my video going in the background and I've got to make that stop immediately. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm so sorry. So yeah, like I said, welcome back to the Position to Prosper podcast. I'm so excited you're here. I'm your host, Erica Pyle, and today we're going to be talking about what happens when you get stuck in start mode. Why is that happening as you're getting started in your business? And so just as I'm getting started here, I just want to make sure that we're in the right place, have all the people, have all the things ready to go. Looks like we're ready to rock and roll. So listen, I'm going to be a little casual with you today. I am trying some new things with the podcast. I am currently just trying to script things out a little bit more. I don't know. If you've been with me in the Position to Prosper podcast for the last few years, you know me. I am a shoot it from the hip kind of girl. But I've been really working on putting stuff together that feels like it's I don't know, it's rich and it's full for you. And so in doing that, sometimes I think we go through like, let's do some things a little more formally. So if you're feeling like I'm a little bit more planned and it's feeling not as, I don't know, organic, that's kind of what I'm doing. But just know that the reason for that is because I want to give you a complete experience. My heart with these podcast episodes is that you would get everything you need from one of these episodes, meaning like you could bring your journal and a pen and your Bible, like I say at the beginning of my podcast episodes, like grab your Bible, journal, and a pen, and let's go. I want you to be able to do that. And then in the conversation that we're having, you're able to actively access what it is that you need that week so that you can go out and implement. I really want the podcast to be an extension of the courses and the coaching that I offer behind the paywall. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a lot of people have their best stuff behind a paywall. And I'll tell you what, I have the best stuff in my mentorship community, the Jesus Girl Gang, and there is a cost to that. I mean, I believe discipleship costs. Look at what Jesus said in the Bible, right? He said, you're going to have to lose your life. You're going to have to take up your cross. So, I understand that, me being a mentor isn't the same as Jesus discipling the people, but there is a value to discipleship and apprenticeship. And people who pay attention. And that's something that is said in, just like the marketing and the online business community when we're dealing in digital courses and things like that. But I do believe that when you've got skin in the game, that's when you pay attention. That's when you really engage. And so that's why, for the most part, we put I put my coaching and that level of depth behind a paywall. But here's the thing, I put so much of who I am and what I have to offer here in the free space. And so I encourage you, if you're just getting to know me, this is a great place to get started, and you can get so much in terms of coaching around how to get your kingdom business built and launched today, like right now. Okay. So here's the thing. Today, we're going to be talking about the 3 myths that can sabotage so many kingdom entrepreneurs when they're trying to launch their business and they're realizing, oh, I'm getting stuck on the launch pad. There's something going on here. I feel like I'm in eternal start mode. So if that's you, if that sounds like something that you've been experiencing, then like I just said, I want you to grab your Bible, your journal, and a pen, and let's get into it, okay? All right, so look, you've started this business before, maybe more than once, right? That was my story. I prayed, I visioned, I fasted, I journaled, I did the research, I watched the YouTube videos, I downloaded all the freebies, I even took the courses. I took the workshops and the courses, and I was trying to apply everything. And I think that, for years I was doing that and finding myself still stuck at the start. And I kind of talked about that in last week's episode, where I talked about all the different things that I tried to do and all the spaghetti I was throwing at the wall. And in 2023, I finally made a decision that I was going to go in this direction. I was going to narrow down to one coach, one voice, one mentor, one modality, like one strategy, and I was going to go all in. And that really changed it for me. But if I'm being honest, as I was throwing all the spaghetti at the wall and doing all the things, there really were three of these myths, these lies that I was believing. And because of that, I had no momentum. I had no consistent customers. I had no consistent cash flow. I just endlessly circling around the same mountain and trying to get like the ignition to catch, if that makes sense. Have you ever had that experience where you turn the key in your car and it's like you just hear tick, 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 and it's not catching? My husband right now has that problem on his car. And so he's got to get the starter fixed. Actually, it's a fuel injector issue or fuel pump issue, but it's an ignition issue. The car will not start. And so that's what it felt like for me. But here's the truth. I didn't lack vision. I didn't lack, ideas. And I had a beautifully planned out, drawn out, colorful, detailed vision board. I bet you it's the same for you too, right? Like you've probably got a really you probably even have a journal. Let's just be honest, right? You've got like a whole journal where you've put these things. And it's not because you're lazy. It's not because I was lazy. I'm a hard worker. You and I were go-getters. So it's not about our level of intensity or our willingness to work hard. And it's not because we didn't hear God in our assignment, sister. Like, listen, I know that when you heard it, you wrote it down. I know that after you heard it, you had confirmation and you wrote that down too. So it's not that you didn't hear him. It's not that you're not sure that you heard him. It's something else, okay? But here's the thing. I've seen so many times this happen. And I've worked with dozens of faith-forward entrepreneurs, women who are looking to launch their business. And they're stuck at the start, just like I was. And that's kind of the reason why I'm working in this space, is because I find it's pretty intriguing to me. And I'll tell you why. Because I am such a go-getter. I am such a breaker. I am you're not going to tell me no. I am going to figure this out. I will find a way to get there. Like I am going to win. That's like my MO. And so for something to be able to hold me out of success for so many years, I was like, this is so interesting to me. Yes, it was also frustrating. There were times when I wanted to throw in the towel a million times. Like I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to even try this anymore. I quit. But there is something in me that's like, no, I am meant to win. Like, what is even going on? So there was this level of intrigue for me where I was like, I'm very interested. I'm very curious. And so out of that place, as I was learning how to get momentum and finally break out of that place, I became very passionate about helping women that found themselves in the same stuck spot. And so when I started working with these women, this is where it became clear for me that there are these three common myths or lies that we all kind of fall into or hold us back. And I want to bust those today. That's really what I want to do. Are you ready for that? Because I think that once you bust these lies, then maybe like me, you can actually get your business off the launch pad. Is that something that you want to do? All right. So now listen, before I get into those three myths, I need to address something. It's kind of like another myth, but it's something that sits at the front. So like maybe it's like there's this door, and once you get through the door, then these three myths are like standing there like aggressive dogs. Let's just put it like that, right? But there's this door in the front, and you're having a hard time getting through it, and maybe you don't even realize it. Okay? Let's talk about this activity that you and I are calling a business. I'm going to use air quotes until we confirm that it's a business, okay? So let's talk about this activity that we've been calling a business. Is it a business, or is it a hobby that you are just highly committed to? How do you know if this thing that you're calling a business is really a business or a hobby? So I've got three questions for you. One's a two-parter, but listen up and write these down, okay? Because here's the thing. I'm going to tell you my story in a minute, but I had to ask myself these questions. And when I realized that like I wasn't passing snuff, I had a little come to Jesus with myself. So the first question is this: are you making money with this activity? Are you making money with this activity? Like actual dollars going into a bank account. I am not talking about bartering. I'm not talking about trading your services. I am talking about, is this activity that you're doing, do you actually get paid cash money dollars that go into a bank account? Yes or no? Answer that. Now, if you answered no to that first question, because if you answer yes, then you likely have a business, because that is the definition of a business, is that it's an activity that you do that makes revenue, that actually generates revenue. Okay. So if you answered yes to that first question, then you got yourself a business, sister. So just hang tight. But if you answered no, then I've got a two-parter here. Are you ready? Is this an activity that you believe you can make money doing? Is it something that you can make money doing? As in, have you seen others make money doing what you're wanting to do or what you're doing? And here's the second part. Are you currently taking similar steps to make money with this activity in a similar fashion to those who are actually making money doing it? So for instance, if somebody is doing this business that you're saying that you're doing, and they're working 20 hours a week to make money, but you're walking around and you're thinking like, oh, I'm just going to put like 2 to 5 hours in and I'll ramp it up eventually, but that's all that I can do right now. So this is the best I can do and we'll just see, right? Like if that's the case, then sister, you don't actually have a business. So, there are things where we get started and it's like this activity can make money. It can be a business. But we are deluding ourselves thinking, well, if I just, work for these couple of hours, I can get something going. And then once it catches, I can make it work. No. At the beginning of a business, it's when you work the hardest. At the beginning of a business is when you have to put in the most seed of time and energy and money sometimes. And so if you are looking at this activity that you're doing and you're like, yeah, it can make money, but you're not willing to do the amount of work or the amount of hours that it takes to actually make money at this activity, then you don't have a business, you have a hobby. But if you're saying, yes, this business can make money and I am willing to do what it takes to make the money, then all right, you got yourself a yes answer there. Now, last question. Have you recently said about your business, well, you know what, I'm just going to give it a try and see how it goes? Listen, sis, if you've said that, you have a hobby and not a business. Anytime you're going to take that road of like, let's just see what happens, that's not a must-have. That's a let's see. And a let's see is a hobby. If you're going to make money, you have to be invested. You have to be all in. If your business isn't making money, you're not working the business with the intensity and focus that's generally required to make money in that type of a business. And if your attitude is let's try and see what happens, then you don't really have a business. You have a hobby. And what's worse is if you've been pouring all kinds of money and time and effort into that thing, thinking that somehow, some way, someday, it will eventually turn into a business. No, ma'am. If you want to pursue this thing as a business, you're going to have to decide that you're going to work in such a way that it will make money. You have to make a decision. Part of the definition of a business is that it generates revenue. That is a descriptive, important part of calling what you're doing a business. It has to be able to generate revenue. You've got to settle this issue, okay? So until you settle whether what you're working on and working in is a real business or just something that you're trying out to see, listen, here's why it's important. I'm not judging you. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm not trying to say, oh, your effort isn't going to produce. Listen, this is why. As long as you keep that thing on the chopping block of let's just try and see what happens, the enemy will keep you in the try and see phase. I promise you that. I promise. How do I know that? Because he did it to me. I was in the MLM network marketing space for a little while. And I was actually somewhat successful at it. I had 2 goes in MLM network marketing. The first time was in my mid-20s, and I actually had to consider whether I wanted to quit my day job. And after much soul searching and prayer, I made a decision that I was going to stick with my original day job. And I'm glad that I did, because the journey that it took me on got me to where I am today. But I was successful then. And then when I jumped back into MLM and direct sales a few years ago, I got to some level of success. And what I can tell you is that those people who tell you that they can build a business in the pockets of their day, or in the like 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there. Listen, they're lying to you. They're lying to you. They're trying to get you onto their team. Let's just call a spade a spade. Because if you talk to the people who are really making the money, and I wasn't making big amounts of money in that space, but I was making some money. What I will tell you is that in the beginning, there's this book that if you are in MLM, if you are in direct sales, network marketing, it's called The 4-Year Career. And one of the things that it talks about is it is going to take you 4 years to get to the point where the income that you're generating in that kind of a business feels passive or feels residual to you. And that's because you're building a structure so that it can become passive. But sister, the first 4 years, it's a ebb and a flow, but in the beginning, you are doing way more work than what you're making money for. You're doing way more. It's front loaded. And so you're just like, oh my goodness, all this work and no money. And then somewhere around the 2-year period, it starts to level out. And then from there, it starts to escalate and you can start to feel the release and you'll start to see the income. And that is the average based on statistics. Now, there are some what they call unicorns in the industry, people who come in and within a year, they're like at the top rank. Good on them. Good on them. But the reality is when you and I are thinking about doing a business, a real business, we can't count on being the unicorn. We have to know what does it really take to do the business. And that book, The 4-Year Career, really opened up my mind. I was already in the marketplace, and so I understood what it took to start things up. But that really refined my understanding. And so when I was building teams in that space, I would always tell people point blank, like, look, if you're telling me that you only want to work like 2 hours a week and you want to work in the pockets of your day while your kids nap, you're going to make hobby money. You're going to be able to pay for your own, box of product once a month. But if you really want this to be a business, you're going to have to work it like a business. And from the beginning, I would train them up. You've got to have hours. Got to have standard hours each day that you're going to be working this thing. And you got to have a task list. You got to know what your income producing activities are. And you have to be willing to sow into those activities. We're not talking like brand fonts and colors. We're not talking about scroll research. I'm talking about real activities that drive cash money dollars into your bank account. Is this making sense? And so you have to often work harder than a regular job as an entrepreneur. This is similar from MLM and network marketing to being an entrepreneur. Even no matter what niche you're in, if you're going to start something up, you have to be willing to work hard, even harder at the beginning and sow in. And it's going to seem like this isn't worth it. This isn't going to make any sense. But if God said it, that should settle it for you. And you should pursue him in what is this supposed to look like? How do I do this? But just know that in the beginning, it's gonna feel like it's worth that it's not worth this. There's a lot of it that is just like you're gonna have to sow the seed. It's like growing a garden. You sow all this seed out there, you put all this effort in to till the ground, get it ready, put the seeds in, water it, nothing coming up. And sometimes if you're new, you do all that and then things don't come up. And then you have to learn through that season and then you go again. And so for me, that's what happened for me for many years. I was circling this mountain and I was trying to figure out this business thing. And when I finally realized, like, okay, in order for me to be successful at this, to get through this front door, I actually have to commit to building a business. This isn't just, like, oh, let's see if this can work. That we're not doing that. Right? Is this making sense? All right. So, because once you're committed to launching this thing for real, then when you get through that door, there are the 3 myths that are waiting for you. And I'm just going to call them lies. Let's just call it out, because the enemy will come for you in those and he will try to keep you stalled at the start by keeping those lies in place. So are you ready for these? Do you have your journal and your pen handy? All right, let's do this. The 3 myths that are sabotaging your launch. Myth number 1. Are you ready? Okay. I just need to pray and wait for God to download the whole plan to me first. I just think it would be wisdom if I waited until the skies parted and the angelic began to sing, and I had my beautiful journal, and I could write down every word that the good Lord is telling me, and it would be step 1, step 2, step 3, step 23, and I make $1 million. So I'm going to wait. Okay, here's why this is a trap. It may sound very spiritual, but what it is spiritual procrastination. Let's just be honest. The truth is God calls us to partner with him, and he provides the vision, but he expects you and I to step out in faith on his word and start building at step 1. I need you to hear me in this. In kingdom business building, you are never, this is not a franchise. This is not a franchise where you're going to download, the whole like franchise booklet, the policies and procedures franchise booklet, and be like, okay, step 1, we do this. Step 2, we do that. Then we order product. And then on step 422, we open our doors and people should just be scrolling in. No. That's not how it works. In a kingdom entrepreneurial business, we take the step that God tells us to take. Listen to me. He's not going to send the angels down with your LLC paperwork. This business isn't going to build itself. And I need you to understand that he's not going to make you. He's not going to make you. So you and I have to be willing to understand that in the kingdom, he's going to give you the first step. And when you complete the first step to him, right? If we're faithful with a little, he'll give us more, right? Isn't that what the word says? If we're faithful with a little, then we'll be faithful with much and he'll give us more. We have to be people who understand. Listen, here's the secret. He knows, God knows, he's so wise. He's such a good dad. And I've been this way with my kids, but he knows that if he gives us the whole plan, we're gonna bail. There was a point in my journey as an entrepreneur, an online entrepreneur, I started a membership, and it was a health coaching membership. I'm a great health coach. But what I know now is that I'm not meant to be leading with that. So I offer my health coaching expertise in my mentorship and in my church, and I encourage and help people in my communities when it comes to like holistic health and how that connects with spiritual health and stuff like that. But I used to have a health coaching practice. And out of that, I started a membership. And I was trying things. I was throwing spaghetti at the wall. And I launched it and I made thousands of dollars. So did I pass the first test? Yep. I was making money. But here's the thing. God didn't tell me to do it that way. And I wound up having to put all the money back, give all the money back to the people and apologize and say, you know what? We're just going to keep on doing this free thing over here because that was what God wanted me to. I was like, of course God wants me to make money in this. He's like, that's not how I want you to make the money. I want you to support this community. I want you to be having the conversation because this is preparing you. But I never told you. To do that. You just thought it was a good idea. So here's the thing, like I fast forwarded. God's like, I am giving it to you a step at a time. You need to listen to me. When you try to fast forward and go beyond because you think, oh, well, he's supposed to give me the whole plan, you're going to mess it up anyway. So just chill, sis, chill. Be chill. Don't lose your cool. Let him unravel the story as you go. He's going to give you step 1 when you are obedient and trust him in step 1 and you do it. Then he'll give you step 2 and then step 3 and step 4. Now, he'll give you a little bit more. He will. But like the most recent one that happened for me, we came into 2025 and I've got a little team for my business. And we were working on our planning for 2025. We had it all done. We had planned it up. We had done the Plan Your Year course in November of last year with our community. And I was like feeling good. I was like, I have a launch plan. I have a launch schedule for the year. I'm good. And in January, the Lord, through various scenarios, different people and circumstances, was like, you need to build a platform, an online business studio for your community so that they can have an all-in-one tech stack platform. I was like, that wasn't on our dance card. Like, you didn't give that to me in November. And he was like, yeah, you need to do it. And I'm like, no, I think I'm hearing wrong. My sister, who is prophetic, and she's the director of prayer and intercession deliverance in our church, she was like, you need to build a platform. And I'm like, I can't. Like, I don't have a custom coder. I don't know how to do that. And she's like, I think you should probably pray about it, because I really am feeling like you're meant to do that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so like, I'm talking to my husband, I'm talking to my VA and business manager, and I'm just like, and then within 48 hours, you guys, 48 hours, it was clear. Like, this is how we're doing it. And I had the platform in 48 hours. 48 hours. And now it's like the thing that's driving my business is the Jesus Girl Gang online business studio. We just opened it up. We have some founding members who are a part of our membership, our mentorship community, and they're using it, and they're, beta testing and test driving everything, and it's incredible. But my point is, if I thought that I have to have all the steps, I would have had a mental break. Like when God says, oh, by the way, the biggest thing that's going to drive your revenue this year, oh, you didn't even think about it until just now, and you need to do it right now. I would lose it. So if you're going to have a kingdom business, you need to get really good at being willing to hear God and move. Hear God and move. Now, here's the thing. Isaiah 30, verse 21, okay? God's a course correcting God. So if you're the kind of girl who's like, oh, but what if I get it wrong? It's fine. It's fine. That scripture says you'll hear the voice behind you. It's the voice of your teacher saying, not to the left, not to the right, walk in this way. This is the way, walk in it. So if you get moving, he's going to steer you, sis. And you've got to start to put your trust in God. So no, we're not going to just pray and wait for God to download the whole plan first, okay? So to bust this myth, what do? You got to take a step in faith and obedience. That's what you got to do. Just one step will likely get the flow going. Action breeds clarity. In the kingdom, this means that the first step leads to the next right step. And as you are taking the first step, God will reveal the next one. I know, like I said, it's slightly annoying, I know, but he knows, like I said, he knows how fickle we are. And if we're waiting for the whole plan, it's never gonna happen, okay? It's never gonna happen. So your best bet is to get moving. Take the first best step. And just a little side note, I don't have this in my notes, but if you're like, I don't know how to get to the next best step, listen, sister, I have a really good resource for this. It's free. Go to ericapile.com/4 questions. ericapile.com/4 questions. It's a 4-question prayer template. And the 4th question is, God, what's my next best step? You got to do questions 1 through 3 before you get to step 4, because that's our mistake. Most times we just ask, what's my next step? And then we wonder why we can't hear with clarity. You need steps 1 through 3 first. You've got to ask him questions 1 through 3 first, okay? So go get that resource if you don't yet have it. If you do have it and you've used it, get into the chat and let the other podcast listeners, viewers know how great the 4 questions per template is, okay? I would so appreciate you. All right, so what's your action? I want you to determine what's my next or first best step that I need to take right now to get off the starting blocks. That's your action step. And then I want you to write it down. I want you to schedule it in your planner, and I want you to do it this week. All right? If it helps you, go ahead and put it in the comments wherever you're watching this or listening to it, okay? Get in the comments. Let me know what is your next best step. If you're listening on a podcast player and you're like, Erica, there's nowhere to put comments, come find me on Instagram. Come watch it over on YouTube. Come to my YouTube channel. Or go to Instagram. I'm just at Erica Pyle, okay? And then find the post where I'm talking about this, because I'm sure I'll be talking about it. And you can tell me what's your next action step, okay? All right, moving on. Myth number 2. Are you ready? Myth number 2. I have to have the perfect brand, the perfect website, and the perfect offer before I launch. You're like, Erica, I'm not stupid. I know that I have to have all my ducks in a row. I'm meant to be excellent. This is a kingdom business, so I'm going to be excellent. Listen, sister, that's not excellent. That's that same spiritual procrastination we were just talking about. Perfectionism equals delay, okay? This myth keeps you preparing forever, but never shipping. That's a big trendy way of saying it now. It's like, you got to ship it. There are software companies that ship stuff that's 70% good. They're like, you know what? The feedback of the people who are having a hard time with it, they'll be our beta testers and they'll tell us what's wrong and we'll work out the bugs along the way. If big software companies, massive mega tech companies are willing to do that, then why is it that little old us who is just trying to get started, why do we think, like, what are we going to die if someone's like, oh, you've got a bug? This is like people who you put up a post and someone complains about your spelling. You had a spell check issue, so you take down the whole post. You know, like, sister, you just got to get used to the fact that nothing's going to be perfect. And here's the thing, in the Bible, Jesus said, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. That's in Matthew 5. Okay, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. And so we start to like lose it. It's with the Beatitudes, right? And so like we're listening to all the Beatitudes and we're like, I can't possibly do that. But if you actually dug into that word perfect, what you'd come to find is what he was saying is, allow yourself to be perfected by the Father who is perfect. Isn't that cool? And so you don't want to be perfect in your own striving and strength. You want to be perfected. And so what that means is that as you step out in trust and obedience, God will be there to perfect you. Is this making sense? I hope this is so helpful to you. You don't need perfection. You need clarity. And as a human being, you actually need a framework to follow consistently. Apprenticeship and mentorship is one of the biggest gifts that God has given us in building a kingdom business. All throughout the Bible, we see people who are trying to get good at the role or the gifting that God gave them, and they're doing it through apprenticeship, through mentorship. Elijah and Elisha, right? Jesus learned how to be a carpenter from Joseph. There's so many different experiences in the Bible where it's like, come on, let's do this together and let's tack on with someone who's been doing it a little bit longer and is a little further along. And I can build my foundation this way. I can build my foundational habits. And so you need clarity and you probably need a framework. So Ecclesiastes 11 verse 4 says, whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks up at the clouds, they won't reap. It's like, look, you've got to do the work. You've got to get moving. That's what's going to produce the revenue. That's what's going to produce the business activity, okay? So you're overthinking things. If you're dealing with this myth, you're overthinking things that God already told you to act on. Okay, I know, that's like, but it's true. Start with what you have in your hand. And if you're on this podcast episode, this is what you have in your hand. Just like Moses, when he was, giving all the excuses for why he couldn't go into Pharaoh and free the Israelites, right? God was like, what do you have in your hand? And he was like, had a stick. And he's like, throw it down, right? And it becomes a snake and he grabs it up again by its tail and it becomes a stick again. God is going to use whatever you have in your hand. And so if you're hearing me today saying, take the first step, he'll meet you and he'll help you along the way, then sister, that's what you need to do. Stop worrying about what's going to happen next. Obey now. Okay? So to bust this myth, it's kind of like the first thing. Do the one thing that will actually lead to revenue generation. This does not include finalizing your brand colors and fonts. This does not even this doesn't even mean go and finish your website. Okay? You don't need a finished website to start your business. You don't. There are so many businesses that are already generating revenue and they're not doing their website first, okay? You got to do things that actually move the needle for revenue. So things like that like count as business, what I call IPAs, because that's what I learned in network marketing world, income producing activities. So in online business, this would be outline and commit to your first offer, including determining the price and what you will deliver upon purchase of that offer. That is an income producing activity, because if you don't yet have your first offer, then you don't have any way that you can make money. So you need to think about, what is it that I'm going to offer and what am I going to charge for it? Will people pay that? And how do I explain that offer? And how do I get in front of people? And when I do sell it, what is it? How am I going to package it and how am I going to deliver it? These are things that are vitally important for you to be thinking about so that you can get your business making money. How about making a post on social media and sharing about what you have on offer and speaking about it in a way that your ideal customer would actually be attracted to that post, would consider it, and maybe even jump in and purchase it today. Give them a link or tell them to DM you. Get scrappy. These are income producing activities. These are steps that can move the needle. Set up a sales page. This is different than your general website. Your general website is like, hi, this is who I am, and this is what I offer and do, but all in these generalities. A sales page says, hey, this is what I have on offer. This is what it costs. And if this works for you, if it will serve you, then I want you to press the button and I want you to buy it. And then you've got money coming to you and they have a solution going to them. That's a business, sister. All right. So here's your action. What's your revenue generating step going to be? What are you going to do? Because I want you to write it down, schedule it in your planner, and then get it done this week. Can you do that? All right. Moving on to the last one. Myth number 3. If I just keep trying a bunch of strategies, eventually one of them is going to work. One of them will finally work. So I'm just going with the law of percentages. I am just going to do as many as I can and eventually something's going to work. Can I ask you something? Is this a biblical strategy? I don't think so, because in my Bible, I see God reducing numbers everywhere. I see him making the statistics seem so impossible. Like I'm thinking about Gideon right now. Gideon, who was already an impossible candidate for what God was asking him to do, he started with like 10,000 eligible people and it got down to 300. What? And he won. So I don't think that it's a kingdom strategy to just keep on throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to see what happens, right? All this does is create a ton of distraction and chaos in your work environment. So here's why it's a trap. Random tactics actually equal random results. You don't want random results. You want specific results. See, if you're piecing together free advice, but you don't have a faith-aligned system to guide your moves, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get just a whole bunch of spaghetti on your wall and nothing to show for it. No dinner to show for it, okay? So the truth is, success isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things in the right order by God's grace. I'm going to say that again. Success isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things in the right order by the grace of God. That is what's going to build success in your life. So you need to know what are the right things and what's the right order and how do you stay in the flow of grace even when it feels so tempting to jump out and do it a different way. Okay? Let me tell you. The way that you do that is you find a community, you find a coach, you find someone who has a proven framework and you stick with them. That's what I did. I found my coaches in 2023 and I just was like, this is how I'm doing this. And I was able to build my whole foundation for how I was launching my business because I streamlined and I said, this is what I'm doing. I did these steps that I'm telling you today. And I worked based on a framework. And eventually, once my foundation was built, I was able to create my own framework. It's called the Build with Faith framework. And so that is how you do it. Now, Proverbs 16:3 says, commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. You might be like, Eric, you just told me to get a mentor. You told me to get a coach and a community. Yeah. Can I tell you something? Sometimes what God will say to you when you show him what's in your hand, he'll be like, okay, now I want you to go and find someone who's going to apprentice you. So I want you to lock in. I want you to pray and ask God, is it serving you to just keep on scrolling YouTube? Is it serving you to just keep on downloading all the freebies and trying the 15 different ways? Because I really believe that it's causing a lot of chaos for you. I know that it did for me. And so there comes a moment when the Lord's going to be like, okay, look, you got to put all your eggs in one basket in this season, and we're going to do it like this. And that's what happened for me in 2023. And I want to encourage you, sit with the Lord and pray and ask him. Okay? Because listen, hustle isn't holy. Alignment is. You've got to stop spinning your wheels and get a proven framework in front of you that both honors God and builds real momentum. Do you have that? So like I said, to bust this myth, you got to pick one mentor. You got to pick one voice that you're going to be listening to on the regular, okay? And you need to lock it in. You need to dial it in. Dial in the dial, okay? One coach, one person that you're going to download all their stuff. You're going to listen to their podcasts. You're going to look at their freebies. You're going to do their videos. Maybe you're going to do their workshops, okay? Seriously, I've been there. And even when I was just looking, like even before when I was just looking at like 3 people's stuff, I was like, oh, no, I could just do these 3. Let me just zero it in, right? All Christians, by the way, all 3 that I was looking at were Christians. It was chaotic. It wasn't until I finally decided to go with one way, one voice, one framework that things started happening. The best mentoring happens when you can focus on one framework, one source of feedback, and one source of challenge. You heard me right. One framework, one source of feedback, and one source of challenge, because you need that. You need sharpening. You need sharpening, okay? So who's going to be your breakthrough business mentor? So here's your action step. You got to lock it in. It's time to lock it in. You found this podcast, so you know that I am a breakthrough business coach, right? I'm an option for this role. I'm going to be telling you about something in just a minute that you can jump into if you want to work with me in this way, and finally get unstuck and start and build momentum as you launch your business for real. Are you ready to do that? All right, but first, listen, here's the truth. I'm going to wrap it up now. Are you ready? Here's the truth. If God called you to it, He is going to bring you through it. Can we just stop for a second? Come on, breathe with me. If God brought me to this business to launch it, He's going to bring me through it. He's not going to leave me. He's not going to forsake me. If He called you to build the business, it's time to launch it, sis. He's not going to leave you at the starting line. If He called you to it, He's going to get you through it. But you and I, we have to make the decision to move. See, Deuteronomy 31:8 says, the Lord Himself goes before you and He will be with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. And so you can hold on to that as a sure and certain truth. You're not alone in this, and He's not setting you up to fail. But here's the things that He won't do. He's not going to rain down cash money from the sky. He ain't going to do that. I've not seen Him do that. I mean, I know that there's probably been someone that's happened more. But that's not His general MO, okay? He's also not going to send Gabriel to handle your sales strategy. You're not going to have some anointed angel announcing out in an anointed way what you have on offer. You're going to have to get good at copywriting and at sales. That's a skill, okay? And He's probably not going to force you to step out in obedience. I know that we would all like to think that if we really had to do it, that He'll push us. Listen, He is not into playing the game of chicken. He will wait. And His patience is so much longer than ours. And so here's the deal. You've got your part to do. Have you noticed in all of these Mythbusters, all the things that break the myths, it's pretty much the same action, right? We've got to take the first step. We have to trust, we have to obey Him, and we have to move. Build with Him. Show Him that He can trust you to steward what He's putting into your hands. Because sister, this big, bold, beautiful business that He's given you, it is going to be so impactful. Do you believe that? Do you know that if God called you to something like this, He intends to have you be so impactful? You're expanding the kingdom with what He's put on your life. This is so exciting, all right? So I know you know this already, but you need more than a vision board. You need a proven strategy. You need a framework to turn the vision that He's given you into a reality. And it just so happens that I'm getting ready to share my proven framework with whoever wants to get moving. So in just a few weeks, I'm going to be opening up the doors to a brand new workshop where I'm going to be teaching the exact framework that got my business out of constant start mode and into consistent momentum. Okay, I'm putting together a workshop to share it all with you. It's called the Jesus Girls Business Launch Lab. Oh my goodness. And in that program, it's a 3-day workshop. I'm going to be unpacking the Build with Faith framework. I'm going to be taking you step by step so that you know exactly what you need to do to get your business off the starting block. So if this is something that you're interested in, I want to invite you to jump onto the wait list. You might be like, I'm going to be here, Erica. I'll learn about it. Listen, no, sis. You want to come now because I'm actually starting to talk about it right now in my newsletter. I'm talking about it every time that I'm connecting with you on my email list, and I'm talking about it on my social media feeds. Let's get together. Okay, I just had a Parent Trap moment. Did you? I know this is going to make me seem really old, but you know the original Parent Trap? Let's get together, yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll be a lot of fun. I don't know why I sing on my podcast. I'm not a singer. But that's how I hear and how I experience things. Anyway, if you want to get on the wait list, so that you know the minute that the workshop opens up, you want to go to ericapile.com/workshop waitlist. Workshop waitlist, real simple. And when we open it up, you'll be the first to know. But also, you're going to know when I'm going live here on YouTube. You'll know when podcasts get posted up for audio. You'll know what I'm posting on social media, and we'll start to work together already. Let's get used to working together in this community. Does that sound good to you? Because sister, I know it can make all the difference. So listen, if you know that these 3 myths have been holding you back, it's time to bust them. Bust them, bust them, bust them. It's another Phineas and Ferb, right? Bust them, bust them, bust them. I know. I don't know what is up. I'm not normally squirrely, you guys. But anyway, I really hope that you are thinking to join me in the workshop. I would love to work with you. I would love to work with any woman who's done with being stuck at the start and ready to launch her business for real. And so go to ericapile.com/workshop waitlist and hop on the list. All right, friend, that's what I have for you this week. I hope it blessed you. If you know someone who would be blessed by this, shoot them the link. Share it with them. This is good stuff. And if they have a journal and a pen with them, they're going to write down all the things and they're going to get to do the actions too. You'd have an accountability buddy. Do it together. Sound good? All right, friend, I'll be praying for you this week. I'll see you back here next week. Same time, same channel. All right, bye for now.